love you too.
I love you too.
I'm going to draw him. So hi guys, I'm Steve Blum. Stand up because I can't see everybody back there. For those, sit down. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Blum. I'm a voice actor from LA. I've been doing this about 20 years. And it's worked out okay. So I think we'll just keep this informal, maybe a Q&A kind of thing. You guys have questions? Great questions. All right, let's start with you right here.
Yes, you don't have to say the entire thing, just have, but in your Guillemot voice, can you sing the first part of the R. Kelly song, just this part? Guys, wait, in your Guillemot voice, can you say, I believe I can fly? Yes.
I believe I can fly. If I can touch the sky. That's all I'm gonna sing and then I'll go away.
How about you right here?
Steve, I really love Samurai Champ. I'm a huge fan and I love him again, like with all my heart.
Thank you. I love you
Ultimate
too. I
favorite
signed your
character.
chest earlier.
Well, hey, you get the ladies. Alright, I want you to, can you please answer this question in Mugen's voice? Okay, I'm going to say what I do. Mugen, you know I love you, right? And even though you know I'm a human who turns into a wolf, I just want to know that I really love you. And I was wondering, will you marry me and will you be my baby daddy?
Only if you have dumplings.
Okay, baby, I'll make you all the dumplings you want. Thank
Heard it
you.
here first. Okay, how about
Can you take my bending away?
on your knees.
This is going to end so well.
Revolution has begun.
All right, who's next? Who's my next victim?
So when you talk, you sound like a really normal guy.
I'm not.
You do these really deep, grovelly voices. When did you discover we could do that?
I could actually do that when I was 13 years old. I had a friend who lived down the street, and one of his favorite things to do was to go down the corridors of the school, and he had a deeper voice than mine. And kids were messing around the corridors when they should have been in class. And
Boy, get to class!
so I worked really hard to get that same texture, and so I've been doing that since I was like 13 years old. It paid off, yeah. My kids never listened to me, but it Thank you. Right here.
Hey Steve, good to see you again.
Hello, Megatron.
What's up? You're the best. You never failed me, Star School. Actually, I was going to ask, I think I've asked you this before, but now since especially you're playing Starscream and Transformers Prime, you have a lot of toys being made of characters you played, whether it's Wolverine or Starscream, and now even Spike from Cowboy Bebop. Is there any favorite toys you have of characters you have voiced that you own or like?
I knew it. I have a Starscream on my desk, and his hand kind of moves and lights.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty fun. I like them all. I have 3 shelves of toys.
Toys?
Well, it's only 3 right now because that's all I can fit in my office. And I'm not allowed to have my toys all over the house. So I have to have in my little man cave. Well, respect. And my girl Trina back there. Yes, how about you right here?
I was wondering if you ship Amon and Lieutenant.
If I what?
If you ship them.
Did I ship them?
Yes.
Relationship.
Oh.
Ship them up. There's so much shipping.
So I know you've done pre-dubs and post-dubs, which are, whether it's been animated or not.
Yes.
What are some of the differences and challenges between recording before you had the animation and matching them out through the animation?
Well, I started in anime years ago, which is, it's the animation is done before by the Japanese, and you're just basically fitting the lips into the mouths. And that's a whole different set of technical ability that you have to do that. You're watching a screen, you're looking at a script in front of you, and you're listening to the director all at the same time, trying to maintain that character and match all the lip flaps. It's very technical. But that's where I was trained. So I'm very comfortable in that environment. And in that environment, you're also alone in the booth. It's just me and then whoever's on the other side of the glass. For original animation like Transformers or X-Men or things like that, we're working with a full cast. And it's really fun because we get to play off of each other. It's like a bunch of little kids in a room, and the director is basically our school teacher. And the director spends most of their time just trying to keep us on task, because we get out of control with throwing things at each other. On Transformers, Darren Norris, who plays Knockout, will shove 2 pieces of string cheese at each other. We're a bunch of little kids in the booth, and so that really becomes the challenge, is to stay focused. And we're all professionals, though. No problem at all. And video games are similar to anime. You gotta stand up and shoot. This is the SAC Enemy before, right?
SAC Enemy, yes.
SAC Enemy, and was that?
That's my brother.
That's your brother. He and his brother wore these shirts and stalked me through the entire time. He gave me one of these shirts, and I still have it. I don't know. I feel bad burning it. It scares me. I open my closet, and there I am looking at it.
Make your wife wear it.
Was it?
Make your wife wear it.
Oh, she won't wear that. You wear that? No. She says no. Honey says nah.
How do you feel about anime turned to live action movies?
So far it hasn't worked out so well.
Dragon Ball Z!
You know,
Don't even start! That's a disaster for crying out loud!
You know, a lot of people had concerns about that happening in years ago.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves was supposed to play Spike. And
Oh, man.
that
would be weird.
But then I met him in an airport on the way to England or someplace, and he was really passionate about it. And he had watched every episode, and he loved the character, he loved the show. And he, I felt if somebody's going to be that passionate about it, and the original creators of the show are going to be involved, it might come out okay. But the other thing was that he said it would cost like $500 million to produce. He said there was a great script written, but he was also afraid that by the time they did get enough money for it, he'd be too old to do his own stunts. Those just haven't worked out so well so far.
Fair enough.
In the future, you had your hand up first.
Are there times, like, if you like do a really serious line that you just goof off, like with lines sometimes?
Oh.
You like to move?
Yeah, so we do that pretty much on every show and every line. The favorite bloopers would probably be in Blum. Yes, I played a character called Leron. And Leron's most famous line that made it into the show was, when you screw it in, give it a hard, manly twist. Filthy minds. So anyway, that was what ended up in the show. But the stuff that couldn't make it to the show was a lot filthier. And for that particular series, I rewrote every single line. We actually had enough material to do another entire series. And my favorite thing was to make the director squirm. He's a very respectful, really cool director, and he's very serious about the craft. But he's also a very good friend, so it was my mission to make him as uncomfortable as possible. And I would direct things to him, Well, Mr. Director. I'm not wearing pants in the booth. Adjusting his chastity belt. How about some of you guys haven't asked one yet? How about you over here, sir?
Actually, it's more of a favor.
In the same vein, since you just talked about Leron, would you mind actually re-reciting the lines with Leron hitting on Spike?
Oh, wow.
Oh, man. That isn't going to go well at all. What do you want me to say?
All I remember is I only watched the clip yesterday, and you were saying like, "Hello, Mr. Bounty Hunter," and it kind of just started off from there.
Oh, okay, well. Hello, Mr. Bounty Hunter. I'm a robot mechanic, and I understand you have some problems with your ship. So I just wanted to know if you would like your nuts tightened. With a proper wrench. And then Spike's response would be,
Thank you.
oh, I'm sorry, YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
I have a couple of questions. For those interested in VO, what are some good ways to break into doing voiceovers for cartooning? And also, what tricks of the trade have you learned over the years in the studio, working with microphones or maybe even a home studio?
Okay. Well, there's a guy named Josh. Josh, are you in here?
Yo.
Josh gave me a copy of a book called Voiceover Voice Actor, which I left in the car. I'll bring it out afterward.
That's cool.
It was written by my friends Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt. And very inexpensive book. It's a paperback book. And they've actually kind of taken it from beginning to end of what to do and what not to do in the industry. To give you any other kind of answer here would take another hour. I've also put a page on my website. Just go to steveblumvoices.com. There's a page that says, "How do I become a voice actor?" It has a link to that book. It has a lot of information. It's all free. And a link to D. Bradley Baker's blog. I don't remember the name of that right now. But if you just go to my website, there's links to all that stuff. And D has spent months sourcing out information on what to do and what not to do in the industry. There are a lot of people that will take advantage of it when you're just starting out. And I don't want that to ever happen. So the best piece of advice I could give you from the get-go would be just do it because you love it. And do it for free. Do it, read for kids, do community theater, take improv classes, that sort of thing. But do it because you love it. If you ever do it because you want to get famous or rich, neither will probably happen. And most of us in the industry have had other jobs through our whole career. So you really have to do it. And then you'll never be disappointed.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but go to the website and that'll
Okay,
lead you in the right
great.
direction. Okay, how about the hat in the back?
Who are your favorite video game characters to voice, and can you do the voice of Tank Dempsey from Call of Duty?
Yeah, Tank said a lot of naughty stuff. This is an 18 and under channel, I think. But I actually wrote down some stuff that I think was a little bit cleaner. Cheat sheets. That's the great thing about being a VO, guys. I don't have to remember anything.
Freak bag meat sacks! You just got dead flesh on my new boots!
Was Avram.
Yes!
Yes!
Yeah!
Let's see if I can find something here.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Misery, vomit, malt liquor. Reminds me of home.
Yeah, there's been so many, though. That's hard to pick just a couple. Those are my favorites at the moment. Do you have a question for me?
Yeah, what's it like working with Frank Welker?
Oh. You guys know who Frank Welker is?
Yeah!
Frank Welker is the voice of pretty much every creature in every Disney movie you've ever seen. He's Free Willy, he's Scooby, he's Freddy, he's Garfield. He's
Apu.
is that Abu the monkey, right? That's from Pokemon. But Frank also plays Megatron in Transformers Prime. And he's been a hero of mine for years. Frank is one of the biggest icons in the entire industry, if not the biggest, not only to the fan base, but to all of us. He's also one of the kindest and gentlest human beings you ever want to meet. And you just can't imagine those terrifying voices coming out of that silly face. Now, I remember I worked on What's New Scooby-Doo with Frank for the first time, and just walking into that room and working with the guy who does that voice. I had my fanboy moment. And the very first time I met him, I gaga all over him, and I was practically crying. And he said, you know what, welcome to the industry, and he gave me his phone number. And he said, if there's anything you ever need, if there's any advice, to keep you out of trouble, just give me a call. And he's always been like that. Frank's a really genuine, decent dude. And unbelievable talent. Just unbelievable. The creatures that come out of that face.
I actually had a question. I don't know if you're allowed to tell anything, but I saw a CGI thing going on where I thought I heard your voice as Captain Harlock.
I don't know. It could be, it could happen, I don't know. Even if I did know, I wouldn't be able to talk about it. We have to sign things called non-disclosure agreements, and they're a legal binding document that we can go to jail over if we spill something at that time. So we're all very tight-lipped. And for me, it works out great because I have no memory. Even if I know something's happened, I forget. I don't watch my own shows, I don't play my own games, so I do the job, I'm on to the next thing. I'm the best guy to ask for.
Could you ad-lib something from Zabuza and Orochimaru where Tom's voice saying Naruto's back where he belongs?
Zabuza and Orochimaru. The last thing I remember with Zabuza was basically they stabbed him in the back like 35 times with a porcupine. Orochimaru would be, I don't know. Where's Sasuke? From his body. I keep swallowing my own tongue. We'll be right back. Naruto. Come out of my stupid face when you have all these beautiful characters with swords coming out of their head. That's a lady right back here.
Yeah, I was wondering about other comedy, maybe connect with other comedy, because I know the comedians can do it. There's not just Jeff Dunham, and I've seen Robot Shake. I mean, some comedy you could connect. I don't know if you have any connections to these people that would do this for comedy or just for acting in general, and that's what I just came here just to see if I could see that. So I mean, I thought, maybe even just using it for, for a lot, even just for stand-up, I find out doing a lot of voices, and it's not just Robin Williams has figured that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know, you know any connections?
Well, there are a lot of guys that started as stand-up comedians. They actually make a better living doing voiceover if they can get the work. And comedy's hard. Comedy is really, really hard. And a lot more travel and a lot more heartbreak, and you're working some really terrible places that smell really bad. And, but there's so many guys who've made that transition, and some of them do still do stand-up from time to time. But it's a great skill to have, and especially if you have improv training, it's a great thing to have. So they do crossover. Was that the question?
Yeah. I said I ain't got to show my improv class. I just
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover there, though. There's a lot of us do that. I don't know. I never did comedy. So I'm just, I think I'm funny. How about somebody who hasn't asked one? How about you? Yes.
So this just randomly popped in my head. Have you ever called in like to-go food or some random phone call and used a different voice instead of your own?
I've done that, but it's funny because out of context, unless we're in a convention setting, it just doesn't register in people's minds. Sometimes if I'm in a store or something, I'll hear my normal speaking voice and it sounds like Spike or it sounds like Tom or something that's close to my voice. And I'll just see this look, and they'll look at me like I'm a child molester or something. It's like, there's this look of puzzlement on their face, and disgust sometimes. And then all of a sudden, every once in a while, you just see the look go from this to... And then we'll have a conversation. But most of the time, it's so far out of context. Even if I do go to a fast food place or I call in an order like that, they'll think I'm some idiot trying to do an impression of me. And one time I did do that. I called in some pizza and I did this voice, and they said, "Your voice is really weird." And I said, "You don't recognize me." I forgot what the character was. And then I told them who the character was supposed to be, and they said, "You don't sound anything like him." Spike or something. I said, "Okay, that career's over." My comedy career. Okay, how about you with the N7 hat?
Oh.
Yeah.
I know you do Starscream and Transformers Prime.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite Transformer?
Do I have a favorite Transformer?
Yeah.
Ooh, man, that's really hard. I've always liked Megatron. I've liked the Decepticons. I really like the Decepticons. I'm also doing a show called Rescue Bots. Just like Transformers for kids, and there's a character on there called Blaze. And I think Blaze is my new favorite. He has to take the form of a helicopter, but he's afraid of heights. To me, that's a really great combination. Yeah, but it changes. I'm not very loyal to any one particular character. It changes from day to day. So whatever show I'm working on, that's my favorite show today. Whatever character I'm working on, that's my favorite character. So fortunately, I'm a lot more faithful in my relationship. How about you there, sir? Yes.
Have you ever used, like, for characters, have you ever just randomly come up with some out of nowhere voice and just like, I think I'll use this voice for a character now. Have you ever done anything like that? Just a voice comes to you.
Like every day.
You don't get into character any other way? Do you just like come up with a voice? Oh, that sounds really nice. Or
No,
do
we
you...
got to come up with it like that. And most of the time for you beginning voice actors out there, when you get called in the studio to get hired for a voice, the chances are they'll throw 2 or 3 more voices at you that you weren't expecting. So you have to be ready for that. Different accents, different vocal ranges, different ages. And sometimes they'll even change the voice that you were hired for. And there was a game, Dead Island. You guys know Dead Island?
Yeah.
I went in for that game thinking it was going to be Caribbean, and then they told me it was going to be a Greek voice. And then I walk into the studio and they say, okay, so we decided to go Australian. We don't want to be a perfect Australian, we want to be like a bad Australian. So I said, okay, I can do that. No problem, Mike. But you have to be able to change it up that way. And you never know. And sometimes even the script that you may have practiced for a week is completely rewritten by the time you get into the studio. So that's why improv training is really helpful. You really have to keep in the field.
Was it hard doing the monotone voice that you had to do for the G-Men for Psychonauts with these crazy things that are coming out?
No, that made it even more fun. And the monotone voices are really nice because I spend so much of my life screaming. So to do those voices or something like Vincent from Final Fantasy where it's just really deep and really slow. Those kinds of things feel good. It's actually therapy on the throat. So that was really fun and it was so wrong.
Rhubarb is a controversial pie flavor.
Yeah, saying these outrageous things in this really calm, collected voice, that's great fun for me. And it makes the comedy work so much better too, if the writing's good. It's my new wife.
I got 2 quick ones real quick. One, what was your favorite moment of doing Mugen and Samurai Champloo?
Of doing Mugen and Samurai Champloo?
Right.
Wow.
Mine was when you got your butt kicked by that ninja chick.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, look, a naked woman. The second one was, hang on. Good Lord, I'm old.
I know.
I'm only 20, but...
What does that mean? About that for a moment, I'll come back to you.
Okay.
What's the hardest thing you've had to do as a voice actor?
Wow. Take my boss's dog to get skunked. Well, I always had other jobs for first 15 years of my career. I had other jobs too. So the hardest things I had to do were the other jobs, probably. But as a voice actor, I think the hardest thing is really getting to work. We're auditioning. I still audition probably 10 to 20 auditions for every job I book. And when you start out, you're auditioning 30 to 50 auditions for every job. And so that's the hardest part of doing it. And now the hardest thing is really just getting around town because you have to drive so much from studio to studio. And I live in Los Angeles and traffic is terrible, so I spend 3 to 4 hours in the car every day. And that's really the hardest part of the whole gig is just making it into the studio. She got it. This is the book. So that's the book. Everybody say thank you to Josh for.
Thank you, John.
And they took a lot of these are working voice actors that wrote this. Yuri and Tara are in everything. Ben 10, she's in a million different things. And they took their time, it took years, and they put this book together for you guys, basically, to teach you how to do this the right way. And so many people that have taken voiceover classes and workshops and things where the director of the workshop will say, you take my class, I'll make you a demo for $1,500, and then you're guaranteed work, and I'll give you the connections you need. And it's just not the way it works. This will kind of give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it. So read that book. It's on sale on Amazon.com. And it's like $20. It's great.
So, Starscream's had a lot of ups and downs in the first 2 seasons of Prime.
Yes, it has. Mostly downs.
How would you like to see him grow and change as the 3rd season happens?
First of all, I would like to see him become the Lord and Master, ruler of Cybertron, and the rest of the known and unknown universe. That would go well. I would like for Megatron to listen to him once in a while. I would like for the Autobots to kneel before his feet and to bring him cookies. Lots and lots of cookies.
I've been given such a great role with Starscream. The beatings, that when I got about halfway through the first season, the producers came up to me and they said, well, you've done such a great job sniveling that we have written some stuff that's going to take you to your breaking point. As a person and as a character. And so prepare yourself for that, because we're just having so much fun. And for me as an actor, the more the merrier. The worse his life becomes, the more fun it is for me. So, and I think the more fun it is for you guys too with Starscream. He's just one of those characters you love to see get his butt kicked. He deserves it. He's a naughty con.
I know you don't learn much about the characters that you audition for right away. And has there ever been a character that you started to voice, and after a while, have you grown to dislike a character? And if that has happened, what do you do to continue with this character?
I've never disliked any of the characters. It's a job for me. I take it, I try to have a very professional attitude towards it. So even if a character isn't resonating with me at one point in time, there will be something that comes out of the character that will. And it's like life. We don't always like the people in our life. We don't always like ourselves. We don't like our situations. But it changes from moment to moment. So there's never been a problem with a character. Even if the writing isn't as good, I still treat every character like it's the first day on the job. And I'm never disappointed by that. I can't even think of one character that I really didn't like. I may not have liked him if that was a real person in my life. But they're all part of me too. We all have the light and the dark sides, and so I'm very open to embracing that dark side too. It's not an issue. The only time I had a character that I didn't want to do was something I walked away from, which was a show. Some of you guys have heard this before, but there was a show they just called Project X. I walked in, I had no idea what it was. And I started recording, and they said that I was going to be a monster.
Oh,
I was going to have a bunch of tentacles. And that's all they told me.
I've seen enough Japanese cartoons to know where this one's going.
Yes, I was this creature with a lot of tentacles doing really bad things to really young girls. I lasted about 10 minutes in that session before I realized what it was, and then I excused myself and walked out. And I don't see the entertainment value. Okay, somebody who hasn't asked a question.
Oh, I remember.
How about you, Richard?
Me?
Yes.
Well,
no, you.
I have like one simple question and one request. First question: what did you actually have a hard time trying to tone your voice down when you played Wolverine for the first time?
My voice has been in there forever. The cool thing about Wolverine is I started out, my very first job of any job in my whole life was sorting comic books in my grandfather's bookstore. I was 12 or 13 years old. And Wolverine wasn't around back then, we were really old guys. But there were a lot of superheroes who were, and I would have their voices in my head as I'm reading these comics when I should have been working. The voices would just sort of roll around in my head. I think like many of you, as you're reading stuff, you hear these voices in your head, and when they're finally fleshed out by an actor, you have your opinion of what you had heard before in your head and what they did. Sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't, most times they probably don't. But for me, Wolverine, that voice was in my head from the first time I read an X-Men comic that came in here. And so when I was old enough to actually create that voice, that's the first thing that came out of my mouth in the audition. That was the first idea that popped out of my head as I'm reading this thing. I just read it out loud, like I would have been reading the comic. And fortunately, the guys who were casting it had the same sound in their head. And so that worked out really well, but that's not usually the case.
All right, and now here's my request.
Yes.
Can you say, "Come on, X-Men, we got work to do" from Marvel vs. Capcom 3?
Yeah.
Come on, X-Men, we've got work to do.
Derek had their hand up before. Yes.
Do you have a favorite line of Amon, and can you say one?
Do I have a favorite line of Amon's?
Yeah.
Not really. Pretty much anytime he was talking about equalists and yeah, and how great his plan was. But I think I used up my best one, or over there. You won't be sure if But you hear it.
Yeah, on the Big O from season 1 and season 2, there's a big hiatus.
Yes.
Did you have to remember how to do Roger Smith's voice when you went back to season 2?
Yes, I did. Nice tie, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but fortunately, they keep reference of all that stuff. They'll keep recording of it, and when you go into the booth again, they'll play it back for us. So most of the time, I don't have to remember that. And Roger Smith was very close to my speaking voice anyway. So
Yeah, I was like, he sounds just like Roger Smith.
yeah, that's kind of an easy one.
Yeah.
That's a gimme. But things like Digimon, where I would come in from season to season and have to recreate characters from time to time, or even characters from Naruto, where I would come in and do Zabuza after not having done him for a long time. They have to have the reference for me, or I can't remember it all.
Yeah.
You know, 300 characters have gone by between these two.